How different are the results when the AI controls training and when you control training? On today's show, I can finally give you the answer. If you've been following my work, you know that I've been doing lots of different things on two different channels. Here you find shorter guides. On the other channel, btnlive.com, longer playthroughs and live streams. And on that channel, we've also done training diaries, the Porto training diaries, where I took control of training from the start to the end. We did everything. We personalized training programs for youth players. We made sure certain things were done. There was a lot of hands-on for that save. And of course, I have other saves as well. The Lawns Tactical Challenge, where I did not touch training. Yes, I wanted to compare how two teams would develop, one with a hands-on approach and one without a hands-on approach. So I took 38 players from both teams, and after one season, I wanted to compare the results, and these results have been quite interesting. So here we have two teams. We've got Lawns and we've got Porto. What I've done is I've taken 38 players. These are the attributes. This is the CA of the players and the PA of the players, and I've listed them down. After one season, I compare how their CA has grown and to see whether or not any of these players stand out. This is my launch save where I didn't control the training, right? So I left it to the S-man. As you can see, the total CA of the squad is 3,099 and the PA of the squad is 4,304. By the end of the first season, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on some of these numbers. Some of these players had very small growth. Like here, we've got a player with 3.7% growth. Here, we have a player who had a 9.6% growth in his CA. We're looking at the start here. This is the start numbers for CA, and these are the end numbers for the CA. So a lot of these players had small growth. Like, okay, we have one player here. His name is this player. He's got 14.1% growth. Cambo Divilidi. Okay, at the start, Cambo's CA is 71. At the end, his CA had grown only by 10 points, like so 81, so he had a 14% growth. So this is the list of all the players and their growth patterns. Now, interestingly, the player who had the highest growth was this guy. I can't pronounce his name, Caius. He had a 17.3% growth, and this is a player with high PA. He's 144 PA, but only grew by 2.1%. Yaya Kade Fofana. So if I'm looking at the whole squad of 38 players, only two players had like 14 or 17%. The rest of the squad was paltry, like some didn't grow, 2.3, 2.5, 8.1, not a lot of growth. As a squad, the Lawns team only grew by 5.55%. That's the growth in CA for the whole squad when we left it in the hands of the assistant manager. Now, let's now compare this to Porto. If you follow my Porto training diaries, you know I was very hands-on with the training. They had their own use schedule. We also made sure that as many players got a chance to play as possible. And we didn't bother with taking a whole bunch of them out and giving them mentoring. We just left them there. And we focused on these players, making sure they got ample game time as well as ample training time. The Lawns and the Porto team have exactly the same value for training facilities. Both clubs have the same value for training facilities. With Porto, I made sure that we got the best coaches. With Lawns, I didn't bother. I just left it at default. It goes without saying that when you go to coaches, you definitely want the number of coaches and the quality of the coaches to be good when it comes to the senior team's coaches, because these coaches are the ones that are going to be working on your youth players as well. So while Lawns only grew by 5.5%, the growth of Porto was very different. Remember, it's the same number of players, 38 players. By the end of one season, we had quite a number of players having growth spurts. Like here we've got the average player grew about 15 to 20, right? So they grew about 15 to 20%. As you can see, quite a number of players did. Of course, there were a few that didn't grow by much. Some of the players that were already at high PAs, like this player here, João Mario, he grew by 7.5%. Here we've got another Bernardo Fola, who's also decent potential ability. He grew about 9.2%. Here's another Gabriel Veron, also grew by about 3.8%. But the majority of the players, they did develop. In fact, the one with the highest development was probably Tom Almeida. He grew by 34.9%. His ending CA was 85. His starting CA was actually 63 over here. So the thing is this, they definitely did better in terms of development. If you wanted to compare the two teams side by side, this is what we'll see. Lawns, Season 1, CA 3099, Season 2, 3271. Their growth was only 5.55. Porto, Season 1, CA 3025, Season 2, 3468. Human managed growth was about 14.6%. If you're wondering what the training is like, it's pretty simple for me. I value concentration, right? That's my personal way of playing. So all training schedules, all individual training programs will have roles they work on which improve their concentration attribute. Now, some players might have too low a concentration attribute. They probably will be transfer listed by me because I will not hang on to players who have very low concentration attributes. Meanwhile, those that reach the threshold, which is usually around 10, I will switch them into their specific role I want them to be trained in. Here, for example, Karabali, he's 15 years old. He's already got 11 for concentration, so we'll move into halfback training immediately. So there's focus training here as well as individual focus. Now, why Ramdauter of all things? Because Ramdauter's very nice training program for strikers, actually, because they also work on the basic attributes necessary for strikers plus concentration. What about the schedule itself? The schedule is pretty straightforward. I use endurance attacking. These are the schedules. You'll notice that there's some doubling up. You can actually remove quickness and attacking, or you can remove attacking. There are 2 sessions that you can afford to remove. 1, 2, 3. These are the 3 extra sessions here that you can afford to remove. The ones that you want to maintain at all costs are the 2 match practice sessions, because these are value for money training routines, especially if you have roles selected for your players. And then once you go into the calendar, you might end up in the situation like, whoa, what am I going to do over here? Okay, so if you end up with a situation like this, you can leave it on default like this and then just make sure that they rest, or you could actually modify it slightly. I mean, I generally just leave it, making sure that they rest. And then for the week, I'll just stick in a training schedule like this, and it's all there. We can just try it out right now. You notice there's a quickness and attacking is dragged here, right? So I'll just drag it over here. So considering this is a rest period, then I'll just bring it here and done. It's as simple as that. So they get a rest. We can stick this recovery here, and we've got it done. It's very simple. And naturally, over the course of the season, you might have this, or else what you can do is, if you really are the sort that doesn't want your players to be training too hard, this is the reason why I move it around, because sometimes they only play 1 game a week on an odd day. So I use this whole training session, and I'm like, okay, I have to move things around so that they get all the sessions in, and they get their rest before and after the game. Ultimately, the game of Football Manager isn't very hard. I mean, if you want to leave it to the ass man, fine, go ahead, do it. But if you find that the training and the development is not very good, then it's because you left it to the ass man. It's as simple as that. You're not going to find situations where ass man driven training is going to give you fantastic growth, because it just won't work that way. You need to have some hands-on if you want to have fantastic growth spurts in your team across an entire squad. So the next time you want to do training, and if you're struggling with training, you can use my schedules or any schedules that are out there. But what you really want to do, and you want to make sure when you're doing training, is that schedules are balanced. That's all, right? You want them balanced. You want them covering as many areas of development for a player. Then you also want to make sure that you have invested funds into your training facilities. You also want to make sure that you've got the right kind of coaches. And most importantly, when they are young, you don't want to overplay them. You want to manage their game time. You want to manage the amount of time they spend training. You want to manage the time they spend playing. If you overplay them, they get injured. That is a bigger problem than poor development, because they take a big knock on their development, and sometimes they get injuries that are pretty hard to work off. I hope you enjoyed today's guide. You found it useful. If you have questions, you know where to find me. Stay safe. Take care of each other. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.